Hi, thank you for joining me. This is going to be a past life reading. Pick a card and there'll be two groups. I'm doing the card selection for the two groups on camera. So let's get one card for each group. Please give us a card for group 1 for this past life reading. Just one, please. That one. Please give us a card for group 2 for this past life reading. That one. Okay, I'll be using some crystals to help you choose between group 1 and group 2. Okay, for group 1 we have this rose quartz crystal. It's not easy to see the color on camera. This is a rose quartz. And then for group 2 we'll use the citrine. The crystals itself might be significant. So this is group 1 and group 2. Use your intuition to tap into which group would be for you, maybe even both if you are called. Pause if you need some extra time to choose which group is for you. And we will start with group 1. Group 1, this is your past life reading, and the rose quartz might be significant. There might be something regarding love for this past life reading for you, but let's see. Okay, we have the family card. So we'll try to see who you were in this past life, maybe even what gender, the relationships you had, social status, occupation, the lessons or gifts from this past life. So this is a number 2 card, and the card says people. So your relationship with your family and specifically children was significant in this life. There are 4 children in this card. There's a baby, and then there's 2 girls and a boy, so that may be significant. You might have had 3 siblings in this life, or you had 4 children in this life, but family was significant for you. Okay, so this is the oracle card. Let's get some tarot to clarify. I think I'll use 2 tarot decks to clarify. We'll see. This is the Akashic Tarot. So let's see more about who you were in this life. Please give us clear guided messages for who group 1 was in this past life. The Sands of Time. Okay, so you were definitely a male in this life. This guy's rolling up his sleeves. That's one thing that's standing out. So you might have done some administrative type work, something around writing. You had some sort of knowledge about something. We'll get into the specifics. I think work might have been a big part of your life. And the imagery in this card, there are candles here. So this might have been a period in time where electricity and digital technology was not yet invented. There's an hourglass here. In terms of social status, so you were probably well off, gauging by how he's dressed. He's got suspenders on, a shirt, maybe not extremely wealthy, but well off enough, because if you look at the picture, there is a lot of land around. Also, this building looks like it's very well built. Okay, so you were most likely a male and a father in this life. And we want to look into what work you did. This house or this building looks like it can be like some sort of mansion. This room in itself looks extremely big, bigger than what most rooms in modern day society is. So this might have been an office space. And the man looking at the hourglass is almost like he has work to do and he needs to get it done. It looks like it's the end of the day. So he's looking at the time, and it's the end of the day, but he's rolling up his sleeves, so he's not done working. So you might have had a family and spent a lot of time working and not a lot of time with your family. I also get the sense that whatever you did for work was really important in that context. I'm also drawn to the fact that these are scrolls, but there is also a book here. So you might have been some sort of architect. Okay, we'll see if we can get some more from the other cards. Please tell us more about Group 1's past life. Those are a lot. Let's make the question more specific. Tell us about the relationship with his family, the significant relationships in his life. Now, you may be a male or a female in this life, and it doesn't matter. But in this past life, you were a male. We have the number 15 card, which is the Muse. And we have the Lookout card. So when I see this card, I think about music. She's playing a flute here. Okay, so the Muse, and since I asked the question, what is the significance with your family? Your family was sort of the motivation and the inspiration behind whatever work it was that you did. And it was your job to look out for your family, either that was financially, their well-being, or to protect them, provide for them, care for them. And typically the male, the father, that's the job of the father. Let's see, what else is there about the Muse card? This card shows a time of very heightened resourcefulness and inventiveness. So you had a lot of creativity and possibly started businesses or had inventions. I don't think there's anything more. These two cards is just relating to your relationship with your family. Even though you spent a lot of your time working, it was for your family. Your family was your inspiration, your motivation. This was your purpose, is to make sure that they were fine. The fire is standing out though. So something might have happened with your family in this life. Let's get some more. Can you get more about this occupation actually? Tell us more about Group 1's occupation in this life. The gifts that we have in previous lives, some of it tends to come through or is activated in our current life, the King of Scrolls. So now we have 2 Scrolls cards. And again we have a male figure, European, Caucasian, a white male. And there seems to be affluence here. If you look at the gardens here, the green is standing out for some reason. The King of Scrolls is definitely someone who has wisdom, book smarts, academic knowledge, intelligence. The King of Scrolls is a man of learning. He could be an author, a teacher, or communicator. Someone who has a lot of wisdom and offers guidance. He had a thirst for knowledge, curiosity of life, may be involved in teaching, counseling, advertising, writing, publishing. Okay, bring it together for us, Spirit. What was the gifts and life lessons for Group 1 in this life? We have 2 Archangel Michael. Again, there's something around protecting children. Maybe you wrote children's books which was inspired by your children. Archangel Michael is the warrior protector angel. So there's something significant about protecting children, or in general, or maybe specifically your children. The master artisan. You created some sort of legacy that you passed on to your children, whether that is tangible things like your home, your work, the wealth that was established from your work, or the things that you wrote specifically. Or intangible gifts, like you taught your children about life or about certain life principles, religion, something. What's at the bottom of the deck? The King of Keys. There's a lot of imagery about lots of vast land. So you might have left land to your family and a beautiful home. And this is something that was really important to you, providing for your family and protecting for them, and especially for your children, because in none of these cards, except for the Muse, do we have any female archetypes. So you might have had a spouse that had passed away, so your wife might have passed away, because in none of these cards do we see the wife. Let's get one more card. One more card for the significance of this life. And the lessons here, we have Hilarion. I feel like the house that you lived in, either many generations had lived in that house before, or many generations had lived in that house after, because there's a lot of spirits here. There's a woman and a child. So in this life, your wife might have passed on early and you had raised your children by yourself. But there's also other older ancestors here. There's 2 small children. 2 of your children might have passed away in this life. But there had been many people or many generations of people that had lived in this home. I'm looking at the windows and how all of them are like the surrounded archway type windows. So I feel like maybe you are a writer in this life and you wrote about your family, stories about your family, stories about children. I feel like there's an element of tragedy here with this fire and this ship burning and even this God. There's an element of sadness. And sometimes in current lives, we can feel we have connections to people, whether they are in this life your family or not. And there might be some sadness in your life that you can't explain, or relationships or soul connections with people in this life. The children that you've had in this past life, you might know them in this life and they might not be related to you, or they may be. And this protectiveness, this love that you have for them comes through in this life. So even if it's someone that you don't know, you might feel drawn to their soul, this person, feel a love for them and a protectiveness for them because you were their father in a previous life, whatever their relationship is to you in this life. And there might be a sadness, a nostalgia with them in this life because 2 of them had passed on young in this life. But these 2 children that passed on, they were meant to pass on, and Archangel Michael was with them. They were protected and safe, even if their death was tragic, which I'm not getting exactly how, and I'm not going to go into this because this is about the lessons and the gifts. How are you meant to use this in this life? Let's use the Rider-Waite Triangle. How does this affect your life now? How does this affect your life now? The 8 of Cups. Cups is emotions or relationships, and I feel like in this life you have walked away from many relationships, and how it's affecting you is that there might be a sadness in your soul about the loss of these children or not being able to protect them, which maybe you have a bit of an avoidant personality type, where you try not to get too attached to people, or you walk away from relationships before you can get hurt, or you walk away if there is a deep soul love. You are meant to heal emotionally certain aspects, so that you can have better relationships. And it may be affecting your family life in this life. So for instance, you might not want to have children in this life because of the dynamic you had with your children in a past life, and that might be something you want to heal. You think you don't want to have children, but there's a part of you that has sadness or pain, and that's why you feel in this life like you don't want to have children, or you do have children, and you're extra protective of them. Not that there's a threat. There may or may not be a threat in this life, but there might be some sort of anxiety about something happening to them, or fear of something happening to them. Or this might, whether you're a male or a female in this life, like you might feel, some parents are just parents, and they don't have emotional baggage where they feel so fiercely like they have to provide in a specific way. So either financially, or a home, or be emotionally available to their children. Like in this life you were working a lot, and something might have happened to these children because you were providing in a tangible way and focused on work. And in this life you might need to, obviously we have to provide in a tangible way and financially for children, if you have them. But I feel like in this life you might need to focus on being more emotionally available. I feel like with this rose quartz crystal, that even though you might have been a writer or someone of importance in this previous life, for this reading, what's coming through is relationships and love, and especially family relationships and your relationships to your children. You might teach your children in this life gems of wisdom, pearls of wisdom, nuggets that, so your wisdom from previous lives come through, or this previous life comes through, and you have a lot of wisdom to impart to your children. So you might need to be more emotionally available to your children and more present with them instead of working so much, so that in this life, instead of you being the famous author or a great architect or whatever you were here, a businessman, instead of you being the great person in that life, yes, you need to provide for them tangibly, but the focus is on the emotional connection between you and your children, so they grow up with all this wisdom and all these skills that you are imparting that comes from a previous life. So your main focus is not to cultivate your own skills and career, although you might already be successful, or that might just happen anyway. But your job is to help your children become the best that they can be in this life. And that feels like the end of the reading. The significance of this past life is that you are a father, again, regardless of whether you are male or female in this life. You have a lot of wisdom to impart to your children. The relationship with your children is very significant. There might have been some tragedy in this past life, where 2 of your children might have passed on early. You might even have 4 children in this life. And the important message here is that you are emotionally available to your children. The red is standing out also. You need to be your children's emotional security. Children need physical stability and security and protection, but they also need, when their parent or parents are emotionally available, present, and a stable emotional presence in their lives, they feel safe and happy and free to be who they are, and they are able to grow into who they need to be with more ease. And that is the significance of this past life. Group 1, if that was helpful or resonated, please like, share, comment, and subscribe if you want to join me again. I do past life readings every now and then. We may have had many past lives, and sometimes one small little detail in a reading can activate something within you. We all have access to the Akashic records, and sometimes you see a picture or you hear a song or something just stands out to you in your present day life that activates memories or gifts or wisdom or knowledge from previous lives that could be helpful for your life right now. So if you did find this helpful, please share if you'd like in the comments, and I hope to see you again in another reading. If you chose group 2, this will be your reading. I'm going to shuffle this again. The citrine crystal might be significant. This has solar plexus energy. And there are positive and negative aspects to solar plexus energy. But let's see what we've got here for your oracle card. Your oracle card is the peace card. And there's a woman in this card, a woman with blonde hair. And we'll see what is the significance of this card as we go along. I am using the Akashic Tarot to get more information about who you were in this past life. Maybe your gender, you might have been a female, your relationships, your social status, work, lessons, gifts. Okay, so possibly this was a lifetime that you had a lot of peace, or at some point established peace. We can learn many lessons in our earthly experiences, and some of them are painful and traumatic, some of them are about extreme growth, some of them are easy and happy and successful, and some of them are not, because we gain many different things and many different lessons from having contrasting experiences. The Ark of the Covenant, that's a number 11 card. So something about religion, possibly Christianity. You might have been a religious leader or involved in religion in some way. You'll get some more. Okay, the King of Scrolls, Sangha Community, 8 of Roses, and Ascent. Okay, so this feels like a spiritual. And then we have 7 of Scrolls, Intricacies and Industry. So this feels like a spiritual, like the significance of this past life was spiritual. Like you were either a religious or a spiritual leader or involved in religion or spiritual things. Ark of the Covenant. You might have been part of, we'll see if we can get any more specific. So you may have been a leader or not, or just part of a community of a specific religious or spiritual community, and you either helped build this community or certain structures like a church or some sort of physical structure related to the religion or the spiritual community. And like in the previous reading, I didn't get the lessons and the gifts outright as easily as what's coming through now. Is there was something around ascension. This guy summited this mountain, but I feel like this is about ascension. Your relationships with others in this community. Okay, so where you were in this past life might have been in a desert. From this card over here and the way they're dressed. And it might have been really, really long ago. I mean, they're sitting by a fire in the desert with a tent. Part of your purpose was either creating peace in a community, or this was just a really peaceful life within this community. In this life, you, like the Ark of the Covenant is like a promise, a covenant with God, or some religion. I'm not sure what type of religion this was specifically, but you were living true to your purpose. Like if you were a Christian, you were faithful to God and you followed whatever leader, or you were the leader, you were living true to your purpose in this life. I feel like in this life you might be religious or spiritual, and even if you're not, you may not even be the same religion now that you were in this past life, but you have either a lot of faith or specific belief systems that are just innate and ingrained in you, and you are either a person of high integrity or high morals and values, because this comes through from this past life, whether you are a school teacher in this life and you don't really follow a religion, but just the person that you are, the character that you have, a lot of it comes through from this past life. Community was really important for you in this life, so it doesn't show any indication of love relationships or family relationship. Like your standing in the community was really important. So you may not have been married, you may have been devoted to your purpose, your calling, and may have not been married, but you had deep connections with the people in your community. There might be some Egyptian ties here. In this book, there are a lot of icons from past societies. So, in this current life, you might be drawn to certain things. Like in this card, there's a caduceus, a sunflower, a Tibetan bell, an Egyptian scarab, a dream catcher, and the Star of David. So, if you come across any of these things in your current life and you feel a resonance to it, or you feel like there's some sort of significance to it, you have wisdom about probably a lot of different ancient religions or cultures or traditions. And you, again, you may or may not have spiritual practices or religious practices in this life, but these things that you come across, like maybe you can come across a dream catcher and someone gives you a dream catcher. There is a significance to a past life. You may have worked with it or been part of that tradition or culture in a previous life, and even though it might not be specifically what you do now, say for instance the dream catcher might be helpful for you for remembering your dreams in this life or protecting you in the astral realm. And again, you might not delve into these things, but if you were gifted a dream catcher and you hang it in your room, it would be helpful for you. Any of the other symbols. In this card specifically, this is building a cathedral. So again, you might have been part of building some sort of church or some sort of place of gathering for the community that you lived in. You either help build or rebuild certain structures. Okay, in this life, if you travel or you go to certain places and you see old buildings, you might feel some sort of nostalgia or connection to these buildings, and that information or some information that would be helpful or necessary for you in this life might come through, or you might just feel some sort of connectedness or happiness or peace in certain places or with certain old buildings. Let's see if we can get... Okay, so for you, the significance of this past life was about certain religious or spiritual practices. You were a significant person of religion or spirituality and community. And I'm getting heavy single vibes, like you never married in this life. But you had a lot of peace in this life. And the gender doesn't seem to be significant. But I would say that you were a male in this past life. And not a female. I feel like you ascended to a high level of wisdom or peace, or you might even have been an ascended master in this previous life. And these things can sound so far-fetched in this life if you're just like an average Joe. And there's the soul contract card. Like, your soul is highly evolved. Whether you are working in a supermarket in this life, maybe in this life you want to have a simple life because you did something great here in a previous life. And in this life, whether you are an Uber driver or just you could just have had an average job and now you're an old lady, and your energy in this life brings peace because of whatever spiritual ascension or energetic work you've done in this previous life. You have an energy of peace because this life was so peaceful, and it comes through in your character in this life. What's the significance? Can you give us any more clarity? The Tower. Okay, so, and 6 of Wands. Obviously this is a past life reading, so I'm not delving into what you are in this life. But with what is happening in the world now, whatever context you are in, whether there is natural disasters or there are societal, political issues or difficulty in your current community, whether you are someone of importance or significance, you have a job where you become famous, or you're just an average Joe, you are meant to, your energy, who you are, is meant to stabilize and hold the energy of peace now in this life. Through whatever things are happening in the world, in your community, or in your family in this life. Like if we have had, say you were in a war in a previous life, and in this life you seem to have anxiety or depression or anger issues or addictions, or you just, there's an, those negative aspects have just come through in your psyche in this life, you might need to work through it. That's not this reading, it's just an example. But the peaceful inner strength and wisdom that you had from this life is what you're meant to use or be in this life. Ace of Wands. I feel like you are known for, maybe you just speak very philosophically and have a very peaceful nature, and you just seem like you know a lot of things, and you're known for that in this life. These are general readings, and obviously with time constraints only so much can come through. You could always get personal readings and dive into some specifics if that's something that you are called to. But also, again, I said this in the previous group, we all have access to the Akashic records. We can have dreams about our past lives. You can have deja vu moments, just remember things. There are certain people that just can easily recall their past lives. If you feel like there's something specific that you need information on that, or is just standing out for you, you can always ask for your higher self to bring that information through to you in whatever way would be best for you. The citrine, I'm being drawn to the citrine now, and this yellow and sun on this card. Again, whatever you do or whoever you are in this life, you are like the sun. Peace and happiness is what you radiate. Whether you see it or not, this is what you bring to this world. This is what your energy does in this world. And again, you might be an average Joe, but people know you for being either happy or peaceful or both. But there's also a lot of wisdom inside of you, whether that comes through in your work or your daily life, but you have a lot of wisdom. And that our soul contracts or soul purpose in any given life can be something related to work, family, relationships. We might look at people in what we perceive as menial jobs, like your gardener, for instance, as, depending on how much ego integration you've done. Like, you might look at that person as having a mundane life or being a lesser person or having a lesser social status. But that person might have been something significant and great in a previous life and in this life. And that just reminds me of my gardener, who I always have really good conversations with. And he has this kind of energy. Like, this can be Leo energy. He's really wise. He's got such an amazing personality and this stable energy, and just a lot of wisdom and kindness. And those type of people, their purpose in this life, and again, you don't have to be a gardener in this life, whatever you're doing, they might not be starting revolutions or have a major corporate job, but wherever they go, wherever they are, they have the sunshine, the stability, and the peace. And that comes through in their personality, but also in their energy. And that might be you, or someone you know, and you might want to share this reading with them. That is your reading, Group 2. If you enjoyed this and you made it this far, please like the video, comment if you'd like to share how this resonates with you, and subscribe if you'd like to join me again in another reading. Whenever I feel called to do a past life reading, I do. But also, if you want a personal reading, the details will be in the description box below. Thank you for joining me.